can knock him off on this snap. Russian three, drop it 8. Uyunglele steps up, loads and throws. It's caught. It's pitched backwards, up in the air. It's on the ground, still in Clemson's hands. And now it is down. It is over. And the Irish have knocked off #1 Clemson.
Years ago, there was pandemonium in the pandemic. Notre Dame knocked off Clemson in a historic game that will be forever remembered in the house that Rockne built. But now, since 2 years, a lot has changed between these two programs. For Clemson, they still remain a little bit. They've got DJ Uyunglele, now this time coming in not just as the backup, filling the hole of Trevor Lawrence's absence, but now it's his team in his game to win. For Dabo Swinney, it will just be the second time he comes to South Bend and looking to rewrite history. For Notre Dame, pretty much everything has changed. Marcus Freeman, the then Cincinnati Bearcats defensive coordinator, now has his biggest test in the house that Rockne built, and Drew Pine goes up against a defense that is scattered with players that will play on Sunday. But one thing remains. This game has the implications to chart the rest of the season for the opposing teams. For Notre Dame, they could cement themselves as being a top bowl team. For Clemson, they could find themselves in the college football playoffs with a win this weekend. However, one thing remains. Tigers are not welcome in South Bend. It's Clemson in Notre Dame. It's Shamrock Sports starting right now. So happy to have you with us on the second floor of the Duncan Student Center at Notre Dame Television alongside my co-host, JJ Post, Cian Bagenstose. I'm Jacob Irons. So happy to have you guys with us in what is a monumental week for Notre Dame football. We're going to break it all down here with us. Liz Perna will join us in a little bit as she'll switch in for the later segments. But let's start with it. Syracuse, Notre Dame was able to pick up a big talking point win here. Cian, what did you see in that game?
Obviously, I saw our potent rushing attack solidifying itself as one of the best units in the country, with Estime and Diggs combining for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I just thought that we really kind of picked up the slack for Drew Pine having a sluggish game, and I just thought that we can't, unfortunately, we can't over-rely on one unit against Clemson because they're a top 10 rushing defense and they've had ample time to prepare to lock down our tendencies. So we're going to have to kind of be more well-rounded and reinvigorate and find the spark that with the other receivers that we've been searching for. Yeah, the run game was a large aspect of that game, and I don't want to be that guy, but I think it could also play an impact here with Clemson with how weather predictions are coming in at this current moment. But let's go to you, JJ. What did you see there? What position group really stood out to you in this win?
Hey, how about some love for the special teams? As a wise man once said,
Brian Mason
make special teams, and Brian Mason has a very special unit at special teams. 5th punt block of the season that leads every team in the country. This is a unit that, for an offense that needs a spark, consistently will create sparks, because let's be honest, this offense needs flip fields to get going. They can't go 80 yards. They can't go 90 yards. The special teams flips that field. They give them those short drives. See Estime diving in for the touchdown. They need those 20-yard drives to be as effective as they were against Syracuse. Against Clemson, they're not going to be able to just grind this Clemson defense to dirt. They're not going to be able to run the ball 56 times. They're going to need the special teams unit to make a play. And so far in the latter half of the season, when they've needed this special teams unit to make a play, even against Stanford, when nothing else is working, special teams stepped up. The special teams unit has been, I would argue, the only unit for this Notre Dame team that consistently has performed in every single game. John Sott, even we're going to look at past the punt block unit, has consistently been able to take minus situations in field position and create plus situations in field position. These are the players that no one really, I think, looks at when you look at the game plan. I don't think anyone but Brian Mason really kind of thinks they stand out in the roster. But for Notre Dame, they are the unsung heroes, and they're going to need a big game out of them this week if they want to recreate the series.
They're going to need a big game, right? And if you can get points on special teams, that's going to help everybody. And JJ here, when you have special teams, there was a lot of conversation. You had Brian Polian with Brian Kelly, who's a great special teams coordinator, who's an associate head coach for this team. What is Brian Mason's pickup as a head coach meant?
I think it's just making the unit something that people want to be a part of. You know, his mantra of causing havoc in the backfield, getting to the punter, pretty much just demolishing the punter every chance he gets. He makes this unit something, usually special teams is kind of like cleanup duty. No one really wants to get on it. It's just reserves. It's guys who are freshmen. But we got Isaiah Foskey out there full of rushing punters. And I think the culture he's created, where it's not just succeeding, but people see that success and want to be a part of that success. You've got Clarence Lewis, Isaiah Foskey. These are quality players out there giving their heart out to go light the punter up. And I think that's for Notre Dame what's been key, because they're not just putting freshmen out there, they're putting 5-star talents out there.
They really are. And however, we're not just talking football on this show. We're also going to talk in a little football and everything else that is going on around Notre Dame athletics. We send it to Ryan Murphy. Ryan, what's going on out there?
Hey everybody, my name is Ryan Murphy here with your Irish Sports Recap. Happy Friday. We're going to be diving into some soccer, some basketball, some ice hockey as we take you around Notre Dame sports for about the last week. Let's start with soccer, and specifically women's soccer, who, after beating Pitt in the opening game, or their opening game of the ACC tournament on Sunday, they traveled to Cary, North Carolina, last night to take on Florida State in a game that pits the number 4 team and the number 5 team in the country against each other in the ACC semifinals. The Irish were seeking their first berth in the ACC tournament final ever since joining the conference in 2013, and also on the line in that game was a top seed in the NCAA tournament. At the time of this taping of this segment, that game had yet to be played. As for the men's side, the Irish hit the road on Wednesday night to take on Clemson, but ultimately fell in the first round of the ACC tournament to the Tigers by a 3-1 score. Wyatt Burso had the only goal in that match for the Irish, who may have seen their NCAA tournament hopes dashed with the loss. Switching things up now, both the women's and men's basketball teams kicked off their season this week, with each team playing an exhibition contest at home. On Monday, the number 9 women's basketball team trounced Division II Truman State by a 92-47 score. In that one, sophomore guard Sonia Citron led the team with 17 points and 14 rebounds. Citron was a 2022 ACC Rookie of the Year last season. Meanwhile, on Wednesday, the men's team topped Xavier of Louisiana 67-52 in their final tune-up before the regular season. In that one, graduate student guard Dane Goodwin had 21 points and 10 rebounds, while Trey Wirtz and Nick Lashevsky had 12 points each. The women open their regular season against NIU on Monday at 7 o'clock, while the men take on Radford next Thursday that is, at 8 o'clock, as both teams open their regular seasons at home at Purcell Pavilion. Finally, we'll take a look at ice hockey, who picked up 4 of 6 points in their Big Ten opening conference series against Michigan State as they beat the Spartans 5-0 last Friday night and then tied 1-1 on Saturday before ultimately falling in the shootout. The number 12 Irish will now head to Minnesota to take on the number 3 ranked Golden Gophers in a Big Ten weekend series with big games on Friday night and Saturday night. Both those games are 8 o'clock starts on the road. That'll do it for this weekend's edition of Irish Sports Recap. My name's Ryan Murphy. We'll send it now back to the guys at the desk.
Thank you, Ryan. Such a detailed report and able to get what's going on around the rest of campus with other athletics. But hey, we made a switch over here. We got Liz Perna now stepping in here, little senior. We needed the experience for both individuals that were not here against Clemson. We had to bring in an expert who knows how to storm a field pretty well.
That's correct.
Okay. Hey, that's what we need. That's what we need. So let's first start with this, JJ. You look, Clemson, Notre Dame, this is a game that has so much anticipation around it, especially like we talked about in the open. Notre Dame was able to storm the field, but right now, what position group needs to stand out? And does Notre Dame even have a shot in this game? Because they're not receiving any votes.
I gave the surprising answer the first second. I said the special teams, the unheralded unit. So I'll give the obvious answer. Drew Pine. Drew Pine doesn't need to be Ian Book this game. He doesn't need to be, the Heisman Trophy winner. He doesn't need to be Hendon Hooker. He doesn't need to be Trevor Lawrence. But he needs to be something, because we can't run the ball 56 times against Clemson. This is a Clemson defense that is very good against the run. Syracuse was terrible against the run. Drew Pine has been shown flashes of being a quarterback who can manage a game effectively. You saw here, UNC, He had a good performance, 3 touchdowns, managed the ball well, and we won big. But, for every moment against UNC where it felt like he had finally turned that corner and become a quarterback that can manage a game for this team, there have been moments like against Stanford where the offense just looked hapless. The offense didn't look like it had direction, didn't look like there was enough receiver depth to really, handle themselves against top 10 defenses. And this is the test that, Pine's going to have to go out there and show that Clemson game is the fluke and not UNC. Because if Drew Pine plays serviceably, he doesn't need to be a Heisman Trophy winner, like I said. You don't need him to throw for 300 yards. But if he can at least keep the defense honest, if he can give the defense a reason to stop putting 8 back and confusing him, if they can maybe lessen up the numbers on the boxes, run between the tackles a little more, that's where Notre Dame gets to see this game. Because Syracuse knew they couldn't stop the run, and Notre Dame knew Syracuse couldn't stop the run, and Notre Dame ran the ball 56 times. Clemson's not going to be in that gear.
Yeah, and let's go. Liz, who needs to have a game so Notre Dame can have a game?
I hate to agree with JJ, but
oh, come on. I know.
It's got to be Drew Pine. It's got to be Drew Pine. I mean, he's completed 61% of his throws with 13 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions, but he's trending in the wrong direction lately. Over the past 3 weeks, he's only completing 49% of his attempts for 157 yards per game, 4 touchdown passes, and 2 picks. And just to put it simply, his accuracy has been off, and he's having an issue getting receivers other than Michael Mayers. So we need to see him getting new receivers involved, because if Drew Pine's not having a game, the Irish aren't having a game.
But we did see it last week. We saw Deion Colzie come out of nowhere. And that was maybe the game of the year for Deion Colzie, because he hadn't had a reception until Syracuse. So going off that point, I think you need to start seeing a little more of those wide receivers start becoming into that game. And do you say, is there any wide receivers that you see right now that potentially, but maybe Deion Colzie or Jalen Thomas?
I mean, I think either of them are options. Whichever one Drew Pine can connect with is the one I will take.
Anyone works, really.
Anyone works.
Anyone will work at this point.
Lindsey got 5 snaps, maybe he gets back in the fold. Thomas had 3 catches. He was the regular receiver. He was gone against Syracuse. Colzie's now in there. I don't care who the receiver number 2 is.
Exactly.
It needs to be somebody.
Yeah, literally. It's got to be someone else so that you don't have to double team. However, let's really talk about, I want to give some love to the big men up front. Those big men right there, they're doing their job right now. Those O-linemen, they're doing God's work up there. The offensive line needs to come through. We saw it. This game is going to be windy. There's no way around it. We have WNDU reporting that there's going to be 25-mile-an-hour winds. It's going to be windy. You're going to need to start the run game because, like we talked about, Drew Pine needs to have a game. But if he's not having a game, you need to have a running attack. And how you get a running attack is create holes that I can fit through, that a guy that never played football can get in there. And you can see it. That's why it's able, bang, 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 shift right over. O-line up front is doing something right now, and you talk about Joel as well, who's probably, I think, arguably the candidate to be an All-American right now in college football. He can have a game if the entire O-line that's starting to figure itself out, especially after a shaky Marshall game where it was a tough situation. If he can find it, that's going to be huge right now between both teams.
I mean, you got to get creative, too. Joe Alt is unique in the sense that you can run stunts with him. He has the 40 time. He's not going to be breaking sprint records, but he's got a 4.840. He can move, get him out into space, run some screens, run some stunts, run some duo, run some counter, give them different looks. Yeah. Let Blake Fisher and Joe Alt get into space, maybe run some of those double tight end sets, 13 personnel. I don't care what you need to run. You need to make this running game work, because if the running game doesn't work, I think we know Drew Pine's not beating Clemson over the top.
And then you talked about in our production meeting, Liz, the quote from Marcus Freeman about this is not a David or Goliath game. This is 2 heavyweights right now. Really, what does that mean for this game, especially in the run game as well?
I mean, he said it himself. We have a chance this game. We're not a bad team. We're playing some good football. We're just wildly inconsistent. But I think we're playing the best ball of our season right now. We've won 5 of our last 6 games after an 0-2 start. And I want to say that we're peaking at just the right time. And I'm personally choosing to believe that our entire season of playing terrible football is all leading up to this moment where we're going to win and storm the field.
However, we have our own Liz Perna. We're going part 2 of Clemson Girlfriends. We're going to go figure out the housewives of Death Valley. Let's see what Liz is cooking up with and how those relationships have progressed, maybe since they've gotten off the gridiron.
2 years ago, I reported on the Housewives of Death Valley, a group of 4 girlfriends of Clemson football players who hung out at games, took cute stadium pictures, and basically made every girl wish they were a football girlfriend. Now, most of the football players have graduated, so it's time for an update. Trevor and Marissa Lawrence got married last year in a Pinterest-worthy South Carolina wedding. Since then, they've been living in Jacksonville, where Trevor plays quarterback for the Jaguars, and Marissa does boutique event planning and brunching with the other NFL wives. But we'll see how long this lasts, as Trevor has been playing below expectations after being drafted first overall in 2021. Even with the Urban Meyer fiasco behind them, the Jags are 2-6 halfway through the 2022 season, and Lawrence's 5-20 overall record is the worst record through 25 starts by a quarterback selected first overall since 1967. He said after last week's loss to the Broncos, "I need to play better." Yeah, buddy, you do. Darian and Mackenzie Rencher also got married earlier this year, and they're expecting their first kid in a few months. Darian signed with the Panthers rookie minicamp earlier this year, but was cut pretty soon after. No worries though, as he and his wife are both getting plenty of brand deals from TikTok. Braden Galloway and Mackenzie Grimsley are now engaged and planning to get married soon. Braden signed a free agent deal with the Chicago Bears after graduating, but he was cut too. Luckily, their social media presence is strong as ever, and their dogs are super cute, so they're still thriving. Tiffany Jeffcoat and KJ Henry are the only couple not still together, and her TikTok videos suggest that he was not very nice during the breakup. He is still playing for Clemson and is actually a captain this year, so hopefully our offense makes him pay for being mean, because we are for the girls here at Notre Dame, as Mary would have wanted. So, in summary, the football part is not going well, but the relationship part mostly is. And all the girls still get together from time to time to relive their glory days as the housewives of Death Valley. This has been Liz Perna for Shamrock Sports. Now, back to the studio.
Housewives of Death Valley are keeping it real, and Liz Perna able to really bring us up. You can hear it. A really lovely segment there, done by our own senior. Liz, really, what do we think about right now when we're talking going into this game? Do they maybe have an effect? Because we do see there's still a relationship that might be around, that could be kicking around here.
I mean, the only thing I see from the Housewives of Death Valley is that they're getting fans that should not be Clemson fans, and that I do not like. But considering the fact that it's been a couple years, they're less relevant now that they're not posting their little cute game day pictures anymore. We're maybe starting to see that trend kind of backslide, and I'm here for it because as much as I love those girls, I love Notre Dame more, and I want to see them succeed in their relationships, but I want them out of the spotlight. I want the fans coming to us, not the Clemson fans. I've had enough.
You've had it. There's a fair amount of Clemson fans. If you're downstairs in the Duncan Commons right now, hi. But you guys have invaded South Bend right now. It has been large, but let's talk about this game and the implications. I hinted at it on the top of the show. This game really could set Notre Dame up for a top bowl, or it could set them up for maybe not even getting a bowl. If they lose out, they won't be able to get a bowl, or they could get maybe a not so happy bowl. Let's start with you, JJ. Bowl if we win, bowl if we lose. Where do you think we're going?
If we win, how about the Holiday Bowl? It's
Ooh,
nice.
A little San Diego. We get a little trip. We're going.
It's not the New Year's Six, but it's San Diego in the winter.
It's Fox's only bowl,
it has
too.
an SEC tie-in. Maybe if LSU loses out, matchup of the century in San Diego. I'm not suggesting it, but I'm saying it would be fun. If we lose, I'm Homer. Well, this is very Homer-esque. She's from New Jersey. You're from Connecticut. I'm from New Jersey. How about the Pinstripe Bowl? I'm not a big Yankees fan. In fact, I don't like the Yankees at all, so I don't really want to go to Yankee Stadium, but I do want to have a nice train ride in to watch Notre Dame football. It's an experience I've done before to watch the Mets play the Yankees, and the Mets are 1-0 in Yankee Stadium when I'm there, so I say we go back to the Pinstripe Bowl and go enjoy Yankee Stadium.
I agree. I love the Pinstripe Bowl. Liz, where are we going? If we win and if we lose.
I mean, one win away from bowl eligibility. I think if we win, we're heading to the Cheez-It Bowl.
Cheez-It, Big 12.
But if we lose, we're heading to Pinstripe and we're all hanging out at Yankee Stadium. Even though I'm a Mets fan, it'll be allowed this one time.
Whoa. Cheez-It Bowl down over in Arizona. That should be a good game. Really a contest between a Big 12 team and Notre Dame. Notre Dame, if you didn't know, follows an ACC affiliation for bowls. That's where you're going to get mine. Notre Dame's going to the Duke's Mayo Bowl right there, baby. We're tossing mayo on everything. And then if we lose, we're going to the Pinstripe Bowl. That's just my homer prediction.
This might be the most pathetic segment we've done all season with reference to what we thought heading into the year.
Yeah, I loved the Pinstripe Bowl. I went there last year. I saw Maryland and Virginia Tech battle it out. It was a great, well, no, it wasn't. It was a blowout, too.
It was a fun game.
It was a fun game. Yes, it was a fun game to watch. There was a lot of offense. There was a lot. But the experience of going to Yankee Stadium as a Yankee fan, the sole Yankee fan between these two Northeasterners, I'm just saying, go Yanks. But really, right now, I think if we lose, we're going to the Pinstripe Bowl. But however, there's much more going on around the weekend than just Notre Dame versus Clemson, although it might just seem that way. We're talking to Tyler Reidy. What else should we be watching right this weekend, Tyler?
Thanks, Jacob. It's time for another edition of Watching the Weekend with me, Tyler Reidy. Welcome to November and welcome to our biggest sports weekend of the year so far. I have so many big games to discuss in addition to Notre Dame Clemson, so let's get right into it.
A World Series winner will be crowned this weekend. After splitting games 1 and 2, the Phillies hit 5 home runs in Game 3, the Astros threw a combined no-hitter in Game 4, and then Houston survived a close Game 5 to take a 3-2 series lead. As the series heads back to H-Town, the Stros are just 1 win away from a second World Series in the last 6 years. The Big 12 and SEC have the largest conference implications in college football this weekend. Looking at the Big 12, TCU is in good shape to secure the number 1 seed, but any team with a 2-3 conference record or better is still in play for the second spot in the conference championship game. Anything can happen here with 4 key matchups on tap this weekend. Here are the SEC standings for November. The East will likely be decided this weekend as number 1 Tennessee and number 3 Georgia square off. Now, the loser could still make the college football playoff without playing in the conference championship game. In the West, Alabama and LSU's matchup will likely cut the division race down to the winner and Ole Miss, who is on a bye. Moving on to NFL Week 9, the Falcons are leading the NFC South against all odds. They are set to host the Chargers, who are still out of sync a bit, but in contention at the halfway point. The Seahawks are another surprise division leader in the NFC West. Arizona has been playing better of late, and they'll try to avoid a season sweep at the hands of Seattle on Sunday. LA and Tampa played an epic NFC divisional game last year. They haven't played like playoff contenders in 2022. We'll see if a big win here can serve as a springboard for the Rams or the Bucks. And on Sunday Night Football, 2 division leaders will meet in Kansas City. Titans running back Derrick Henry just ran for over 200 yards, but Andy Reid and the Chiefs are superb after bye weeks. Here's a look at the weekend's NHL slate, which includes a couple enticing matchups involving the Maple Leafs. Also, the Columbus Blue Jackets will play a 2-game series with the Colorado Avalanche in Finland on Friday and Saturday. Both games will be played at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. Meanwhile, the NBA dominates Friday night's action and carries some great matchups into the rest of the weekend as well. Keep an eye on the Spurs, Trailblazers, and Jazz. The 3 have stormed out of the gate despite low preseason expectations and will each be tested coming up this weekend.
That's all for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Backs, thank you so much, Tyler, for giving us an update about what you're watching this weekend. I might be watching a little Sunday Night Football. I know that's normally what I'm doing my homework with. Probably shouldn't be telling that to any professor that is watching. However, let's take a look. Guys, let's give our score predictions. It's the favorite time of the day. Let's settle these scores between us. Liz, let's start with you. Where are we rolling, and what's going to be the score?
We're rolling 21-17 Irish. You know, I simply cannot pick Clemson to win. It's not who I am. And I will say the day we stormed the field was probably the best day of my life, and I'd like to see that happen again. And also, I'd like to point out I'm wearing a Shamrock onesie, and the walk back home is going to be real awkward if we lose. So I'm hoping for the win. I'm holding out for that win.
Hold it. And then let's go JJ here.
I've thought long and hard about the decision. The film tells me to pick Clemson. The analytics tells me to pick Clemson. However, my green Irish heart tells me it's ND by 1. I've seen the vision. Notre Dame 24, Clemson 23, Notre Dame storming the field again. It's mainly because I wasn't here for the first field storming and I want to be here this time. We're storming the field. I will also have something ridiculous on that's going to be embarrassing if we lose, so let's not lose.
So can we get
Irish
a video? Can we get a picture of you two for the ND TV?
Sure.
If Notre Dame does not win. If Notre Dame does not win.
No, but we're not even entertaining that reality.
At Notre Dame Television on Instagram, you guys can follow us there. See the picture. Hopefully it smiles on the field for Notre Dame. However, for me, I think Notre Dame's got a chance. I was at the Syracuse game last weekend calling it for WVFI, the student radio station. They played in an electric atmosphere. They played in a loud place. There was false starts. Notre Dame will get it done this weekend. The weather conditions favor their type of playing. It will be a game of 31-28. Notre Dame's going to win this game. I have not picked Notre Dame this year to win on this show. I think this is the weekend to do it. This is the time to do it. It's going to be the fun time to really look out, watch. Notre Dame's going to surprise some people right now. And I think by the end of this show, they might be getting a vote and getting a win. This is going to be really one of those shows right now in one of these games that I think is going to go down in the history books. Am I wrong for thinking this? Because I think JJ Sentimai really emphasizes my point of everything tells me I should not be doing this.
No, I mean, I think you're on the right page. I mean, we're the only team in America with 2 road wins over teams in the initial college football playoff top 25. And I think that means something. It means we're not a bad team. We've had some great wins. We've had some unfortunate losses, but we've had some great wins, and that's what we're going to focus on when we're picking Notre Dame to win this weekend.
I mean, the storyline's right there. Freeman's a coach that is in need of that signature win. You know, he's shown he can go on the road and win against top 25 opponents. That's impressive. You know, beating UNC on the road, beating Syracuse is impressive. But neither of those are really the signature wins that define a coach's, first season. Yeah. This is his best chance. He'll get 2 more. He'll get this, and he'll get USC on the road. I think this is his best chance with a sellout crowd, with weather that favors Notre Dame's type of football. If Notre Dame's going to have a chance to run the dang ball, pound it through the trenches, get offensive linemen up there, play the hog mollies, play the 13 personnel, maybe get Mitchell Evans in the bear set at quarterback.
Whoa.
Give me everything. Whoa. Keep it on the ground, keep it tight, keep it powerful, and I think Notre Dame can win this and get Marcus Freeman that signature victory.
Notre Dame, if you live on campus, you heard the light show practice yesterday. It is loud. It's going to be obnoxious. If you are not a Notre Dame fan, they are heavily leaning in to the Notre Dame spirit that will be packing Notre Dame Stadium. It's the last night game of the year. This is going to be a game to watch. We are so happy you were able to tune in and watch a little Shamrock Sports to get you all set for this weekend. Notre Dame taking on Clemson at 7:30 on NBC, but if you're on campus, might as well go into the house at Rockney Bell. For Liz Perna, for Cian Bagenstose, for JJ Post, I'm Jacob Irons, and for Kieran Cantwell, Jake Miller, and all of our fabulous production crew behind the scenes, I'm Jacob Irons saying so long and go Irish.